everybody. I'm Marissa Frosch from the Amphibian Press podcast, and I forgot to ask you how to pronounce your last name.
Keberly.
Keberly?
Yep.
See, I was going to say Keberly, and I'm like, there's not enough E's, but that's how I want to say it.
I get a lot of variations. Kimberly, even my son is like, Mom, they said my name right. So, it's so good.
All right, Keberly.
Yes.
All right, I'm going to try that again. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Amphibian Press podcast. I'm Marissa Frosch, and today I'm talking to paranormal, is it count as paranormal romance? Or mythological romance?
I'm calling it a romantic comedy with a dash of magic. It straddles a lot of genres. So I think the easiest for me to describe it would be like a romantic comedy.
Okay, so romantic comedy author, Kerri Keberly. I almost said it wrong after I just asked you. I'm sorry. That's Keberly, and I will have a link to her website beneath the video, so you don't necessarily have to remember, but just in case. So this is your debut novel, right?
It is.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got started writing and what led you here?
Okay. Well, I have been a writer actually for over 20 years now, but it's as an advertising copywriter. And about 4 years ago, I decided I was going to write a book because I've always had ideas and written in journals. And in fact, my first, I guess, foray into fiction writing was a retelling when I was younger, and it was of The Little Mermaid. And it was only 4 pages long, and it was mostly pictures, but so 4 years ago I decided that I was going to write a book, and so I've been writing for a long time, but it's mostly been in the advertising and marketing, which is completely different than fiction, because in advertising it's like say as little as possible with the most message. And then with writing a book, it's completely different. It's like you need to just describe everything, So there was a little bit of a learning curve, but so I've been writing for a while, and I've had a lot of fun writing this book. I love this book. I've always been a fan of folklore and mythology, and I guess I could just go right into what the premise of the book is. Well, actually, it's the first book of the Eros and Company series. And the premise of the series is, what if gods had day jobs? Because I like a lot of humor in my writing. I find that I kind of gravitate toward that. And so the first book is called The Business of Love. And it centers around true love and fate. And I would say it's a romantic comedy kind of sandwiched or with magic, mythological magic sprinkled in. Eros, the god of love, he's given an ultimatum. He has to bind the hearts of 2 very jaded mortals, or he loses his immortality for reasons. So it's really a romantic comedy kind of centered around that mortal couple. And, it starts off with Eros' story, because that's kind of the catalyst to get into the mortal love story. But I guess you could say it has double the happily ever after. So yeah, it was a fun book to write, and I still love it. It took me a while to write, but I still love it.
That's so good. It's nice when you love your work by the end. Sometimes it's like, just get this away from me.
Oh, I know. Trust me, I've read it a million times, and I'm like, I love you, Eros, but come on. It. Yeah.
Okay, so why don't you tell us a little bit about the heroine of your story, Liz Johnson?
Yes, Liz Johnson. She thinks love is total BS. And she has a kind of a rough exterior. She protects her heart with sarcasm, and she she has built these walls around her, and because she doesn't even want to go there. She doesn't even want the chance of having a broken heart. And the one thing I do want to mention is what makes this task for Eros so difficult is Liz and Leo's lives have been revised by the fates, because there's kind of a business theme to this. I actually used to work at an advertising agency. So when I had the idea for this book, I had recently left the agency to go freelance. And so that whole business bureaucracy and, the things that happened there, the hierarchy was still fresh in my mind. So this whole thing kind of has like a business theme to it. But what makes it so difficult for Eros to bind Liz and Leo's hearts is the fates have revised them to no longer believe in love, essentially. Leo has commitment issues and Liz has abandonment issues. So Eros has his work cut out for him. So yeah, Liz, actually the book only had, Eros. It started out with just mainly Eros' story, but then as I started writing Liz, because, I knew there was going to be a mortal story in there, she just came screaming onto the scene like, I want some like airtime here. She's a very, she's got a heart. It's just not really in working order. Mm-hmm. So I think she's really relatable to a lot of people who've, kind of had a not so great experience with, love and maybe don't really believe true love exists. So she was really fun to write because she's sort of similar, but a lot different than I am. I'm a little bit more optimistic. She's just, nope, not having it. So that's Liz, the heroine, and Leo. He did not have a POV, and it was the same thing. He, was like, hey, I want one too. So he's just a commitment phobe. He's got a lot of, he's protecting his heart too. And, it doesn't help that the fates have kind of tinkered with their lives. Because it's almost like I need to backtrack a little bit. I don't want to give like everything away, but, Eros has been trying to get these two together actually for over like 300 years, all over multiple lifetimes. So, the fates have tinkered with both of their lives and, the circumstances surrounding them to where, for them to get to where they are in the story. So, but he's a commitment phobe. He thinks he's God's gift, he's those. And he's more of an alpha than Eros, I would say. So he's pretty cocky, but he's got reasons too. So yeah, so that's Liz and Leo. And Eros, I consider him pretty much my cinnamon roll beta hero. He's been with me for so long, and I just love him. But yeah, he is up against a proverbial rock and a hard place. He has to get these two together, or he loses his immortality. And yeah, I just, the hilarity ensues. I mean, he's got his work cut out for him, and I do have to say too, there's a reason why it's so important to him to keep his mortality. I mean, not just because he's a god, but because if he loses his wings, so to speak, he also loses his shot at winning back his own true love. So there's kind of a subplot in there too for him. He's trying to get this, he's trying to succeed at this so he can, I guess, find true love once again, because there's kind of a little sadness. He's estranged from his wife Psyche. So yeah.
Nice. So I noticed in the blurb you say that it's everything they have to fall in love by Liz's 25th birthday.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
why did you pick the 25th birthday?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe she told me it's got to be about my 25th birthday. I don't know. It was just a number that I thought was, um, I don't know, actually. That's a good question. I never
Well,
really thought about it.
the reason I ask is because I had another author on here, and she's Victoria Thurman, and she wrote The Dating Dilemmas of Delilah Dunfield. And
Yeah.
in Delilah, her mother always told her in the story that you have to be married by your 25th birthday, or it's not going to happen.
Oh, okay.
So I wondered if maybe someone had said that to you.
No, 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 no. No, I think the fates were just like, you know what? We are totally sick of this, you missing your mark. And so in this next round, in this next life, if she's not matched by the age 25, you're done. So that's kind of the element that's one of the obstacles he's up against too. You know, he gets a deadline in the first place, but then that deadline is actually even shorter because the fates have kind of set in stone that if she's not matched, then you're done. So just an element of urgency there.
Yeah, you need that urgency for the
Yeah.
story. So I love the idea of writing characters from mythology into stories.
Mhm.
Um, so how was, did you just write Cupid, or do you get to write a whole slew of them, and do you have plans for more of them?
Oh yes. That's one of the things that I really like about the Greek pantheon is there are so many personalities. Every time I read through my reference books and I read up on a new god or goddess, I always form a personality in my mind for them, and that's kind of how this whole thing started. And there's a few different characters in the business of love, like Hermes, for instance, is Eros's best friend, and you've got Psyche in there. So I do plan on, and they both have their personalities, and I do plan on carrying out the series. They'll center around a different god, but then they'll also have a mortal story kind of worked in there.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, definitely, there's going to be different stories for different gods. The next book centers around Apollo and Daphne and their myth, and kind of modernize it and put them up against some obstacles too. And Eros is always going to make a cameo or an appearance or have a role in each of the subsequent books,
Mm-hmm.
because he's going to have to maybe sometimes get his fellow gods into or out of situations that involve love. So yeah, I'm really excited about the series. So I just wish I could write faster.
Oh,
you
I
know
know that feeling.
Ah,
I know that feeling. Um, yeah, I love that idea. So, um, when will, because right now when by the time this goes live, the book will be available for pre-order. When will it be coming out?
with the first book.
Yeah, Business of Love.
Yes, it will be available for pre-order coming up soon here in November, and then it will go live in February 14th.
Of course.
So yeah, that's the planned release date. So it's like far
Awesome.
away, but not that far away. So I'm
Yeah.
empowered. Yeah.
Yeah, book releases are one of those things where it's like, it's almost here, but it's so far away.
I know. I keep going back and forth between hurry up and get here and then no wait, oh no, hold on. There's a lot to do. Like, so I keep going back and forth, but I'm sure before I know it, it'll be here.
So exciting.
Yes.
So do you have a title for book 2?
I do. It will be Mergers and Acquisitions.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, I'm hoping to keep that like businessy title like theme throughout the whole thing, because the gods have day jobs.
Mhm.
So Apollo is going to be this buttoned up, god of every damn thing, and he just thinks he's like he can do everything on his own. And that remains to be seen. But yeah, so he's like this really buttoned up business suit wearing gentleman, so
Nice. Do you have any other plans? Like, do you know which characters are gonna appear? You mentioned you were writing a novella. Is that Apollo or is that somebody else?
The novella, I had planned to do a series of novellas that center around love stories. I was going to start with Psyche and Eros, because I love that story. It's such a great love story. It has everything. I mean, it has like mistaken identity, forced proximity. I mean, love at first sight. It has everything. And so I was planning on doing a series of novellas that kind of center around love stories. I'm not sure what the second one would be, but I know I'm going to start with Eros and Psyche's love story. It would be a retelling type of thing, kind of like in my own words, their love story. And I was also have plans for maybe doing novellas that kind of center around what happens in Liz and Leo's first life, back in the 1700s. And then the second novella, what happens? How does Eros miss his mark? It would center on Liz and Leo. So you would kind of see what happens in each of the lifetimes leading up to where they are now. Mm-hmm. So that's another, so many ideas.
Yeah.
Right? So that was another series of novellas that I hope to kind of put out with this series. When, I don't know, but hopefully soon.
So, what authors have inspired you?
Oh, so many. When I was younger, I really got into, and this is going to sound cliche, but, hey, shameless. I loved Anne Rice. I loved Stephen King. I kind of gravitated toward that true paranormal, kind of the dark. And so I would say that, just the way they worked in the magic into the contemporary, well, not so much Anne Rice, but just the way they worked in that kind of like supernatural or otherworldly into the present day. I just really loved that. More recently, though, I really into like Madeline Miller. She wrote The Song of Achilles, and oh my God, that book just wrecked me. I love that book. I can't even form words. I was like bawling by the end, and I love her writing. It's so succinct, but it says so much. And so I'm really, I've really been into, inspired by her lately. And I just worked up the courage to read the Odyssey. And I know I'm reading them out of order. The Iliad comes first, but I was so scared to read the Odyssey for so long. And then I burned through it. I'm like, this is like, wow, discreet Telemachus. I'm on that team, yeah. So, I mean, there's so many. I don't really can't like off the top of my head have one favorite. I read a lot of genres. I read widely. So, I guess I could probably say more in terms of which books I've read lately that have really resonated with me. So, yeah. Sorry, I'm not the best public speaker, but.
Oh no, this is great. You're great.
Oh, good.
I'm just trying to figure out everything that I want to ask you, because usually it's when I have an author on, they have like 30 books or 5 series or something, and I try to like touch base on everything.
I know, right?
So now I'm like,
You have 0.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, I plan to have more. It's just, I kind of, it's just, since I'm relatively new to it, I'm not a super fast writer. And the thing too is I've been trained to self-edit, so that slows me down a lot too.
A
So
lot, yeah.
I have all these ideas and all these books that I do plan to put out, but it just, yeah, it's that time thing. I need a time turner.
But you have 3 that are in the works or like ready to go, just so readers know they are still coming. These aren't just plans, they're happening.
I have the next 2 in the Eros and Company series plotted out. I have ideas for at least 5, and I'm working on the second book. I'm about halfway through, so I'm hoping to get that one released not not very much longer after the first one releases. But I don't have any set dates for that one.
I think it's good to take your time and make sure that the quality is there and do everything right too.
Yeah.
So that's important.
Yeah.
So where can people find you online?
Right now, well, my website, kerrikeberly.com. I have a lot of, I hang out there a lot. And I blog. I'm trying to do like an Olympian series. So I'm refreshed, like I'm constantly trying to like get that out.
Yeah.
And then I'm on Twitter. That's what you mean, right?
Yep.
See, I'm so new to this. I'm like, what?
It's okay.
On Twitter, my handle, I guess what you call it, Twitter handle is @superkeek. And I have a Facebook author page. And that's mostly the author pages where I, announce like giveaways that I'm doing, and just kind of try to, engage with readers and stuff like that. And I'm hoping to start a group dedicated to, readers of mythology, because I know they're out there. I've talked to so many people that are like, because this one of the reasons why I kind of went with self-publishing is because my book straddles so many genres. I mean, it's at least 3 different genres. So it doesn't really fit neatly into a larger genre. But I still really love it. And everyone who has read it, like my beta readers and others, they love it too. So I know the readers are out there. I just need to like figure out where they're at. And so I'm hoping to do like a group to kind of bring them together, because I also love discussing mythology and folklore. I mean, I could probably go on for days rambling, of course, but I love talking about it, and I love just kind of picking apart the myths, and so yeah, that hopefully will be in the works in the future. And as for like a street team or an arc, I'm relatively new to this, so I am, those are in the works too. I just have to.
And to get on those, you should join her email list.
Yeah, yes. Oh my God, I'm so bad at this, right?
It's okay.
I do. Actually, right now I have, oh, well, it won't matter because this isn't going to come. Right now, it's going to end in a few weeks anyway. I was going to say I have a giveaway going for a chance to win an arc, but this won't be, that won't matter right now.
But if you want an arc of her next book, go like her Facebook page.
Sign up for I'm so bad at promotion.
No, it's fine.
But, yeah, I have a sign up at kerrikeberly.com, and also on my Facebook page.
And all those links will be below this video. So video or podcast, depending on where you're listening.
Yeah.
So is there anything else that you want to add or?
No, just thank you so much for, giving me the opportunity to speak with you and kind of like, chat. I'm so thankful.
It's my favorite part of my job.
Oh, yeah.
Uh, all right. So be sure to check out Kimberly at her website, sign up for her mailing list so that you don't miss any of these awesome books that she's creating. And I will be doing a review of it probably whenever it comes out. I'll have the review on Amphibian Press. So
Yeah.
um, thank you, and we'll talk later.